before we ask why the addiction, we should ask why the pain. You know, it was sort of the water that I swam in, right? In the sense that I didn't know life was any different for most people.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of bipolar, major depressive disorder, a lot of addiction in my family. So you've got, alcohol-induced cardiomyopathy in one uncle. So he drank himself to death, got early onset dementia. My aunt died of alcohol plus Percocet. Pretty messy. So a lot of addiction, and which I think is really, and Gabor Mate, I think has the right framing on this. It's before we ask why the addiction, we should ask why the pain. And so I think a lot of that is undiagnosed psychiatric disorders. And so that was always part of my experience, right? This anxiety, this kind of OCD like dysregulation and rumination, worrying, hypervigilance. I was also very badly abused as a kid, not by my parents, but we can get into that if you want. But that turned everything up. I was sexually abused by a babysitter's son, like weekly for a couple of years. Yeah, sadly. Maybe better if I didn't. But so you take like out of the box hardware that's already predisposed, and then you add some type of traumatic event like that. It's not a great combo. And I would say that I was driven, right? I wanted to get out of Long Island, et cetera, et cetera. Money issues were always kind of a problem in the household. Like that was always a conversation. So I was like, all right, I need to make money. So there was like, get out of Long Island, be good at school. That's your ticket, right? That was kind of the narrative in the household, which I think was actually a helpful narrative. It's like, you got it. If you're good at school, you can write your tickets. So I took all the rage. I was a very angry kid, very angry human, I would say, up until probably 2013, 15. Yeah, for sure. I didn't start to deal with any of the trauma until probably 2015 in any meaningful way. But the anger and the rage, even though it's not a clean fuel, I don't think it's a clean fuel. Like you do a lot of damage to the vessel, but it's a fuel, right? Like it's a propellant that I used. So I was just fucking intense, super intense, and took that experience and everything, compartmentalized it. And I was just like, okay, like no rear view mirror, forward, that's it. And I think that can work for a while. It can work for decades in some cases. Ultimately, I think if you want a semblance of peace and well-being, you kind of have to pay the piper and deal with it. And I have been surprised how many of the friends I have who are veterans who operate at a very high level came out, ended up for any host of reasons doing, say, Ibogaine or other psychedelic assisted therapy, who in the process of doing that realized that it wasn't principally, say, PTSD, often some component of TBI, but there was some type of trauma they didn't deal with. Super common. So I would say 80% of the guys I know. So it's really, like, the numbers are staggering. And the people who kind of survive as opposed to like self-destructing, at least in the beginning, I think get really good at compartmentalizing, right? But compartmentalizing, while it can help you with performance for relationships, for friends, for family, it doesn't work very well. You end up being emotionally cauterized, and the armor that you develop to keep things out keeps a lot of things in, and it keeps a lot of people out.